super fun, and all about artisan cheese and more to melt your peaceful heart and toast your peaceful life. Coming to you from the Appalachian Mountains of southwestern Virginia, this is the Peaceful Heart FarmCast.
Hey, this is Scott Hall from Peaceful Heart Farm, and you are listening to the Peaceful Heart FarmCast.
Hello, everybody. Melanie Hall here. Hope you are doing well. The conversation today and every day revolves around the value of tradition. Traditional homestead living, traditional raw milk products, and artisan cheese. Topics discussed here are designed to create new perspectives and possibilities for how you might add the taste of tradition to your life. Well, temporary changes to the podcast are coming. We have had a cancer diagnosis, and that will affect what I am able to do on a daily basis. I will be caring for Scott and picking up a lot of tasks he normally handles. In the end, it looks like he'll be fine. However, getting to that end point will entail traveling a very difficult road of chemo and radiation. I want to take a minute and say welcome to all the new listeners and welcome back to the veteran homestead-loving regulars who stop by the FarmCast for every episode. I appreciate you all so much, even more so right now. I'm going to start with a few more details about our health situation and then give you a few livestock and garden updates. It's going to be pretty short today. Over the past 4 weeks, we have been to one appointment after another, specialists, CAT scan, biopsy, surgery, a couple more specialist appointments, all in a little more than 30 days. It's all moving so fast. Scott has had both the tonsils out, and the healing for that procedure is quite lengthy for an adult. It's been about a week now, and I've been milking the cows on my own and with a little help with the heavy lifting from a neighbor, and it's been going pretty well. So we are streamlining as much as possible so we can get through this time period with less stress. We have plenty of cheese stored up, so I will not be making any more cheese for the rest of this milking season. Milking twice a day changed to once a day almost immediately. That reduces the amount of milk that we're handling on a daily and weekly basis, and of course also the workload of having to milk twice a day. But between the great herd share folks and feeding the calf, making yogurt, having drinking milk for ourselves, I think we will be in good shape here, just milking once a day. And I probably actually am going to dry up one cow as well. Oh yeah, and I'm making butter ever so often as well. As far as the cheese cave, we are going to change how we store the cheese. Scott handles all of that. He is the affineur. That's the name of the job. The person that takes care of the cheese in the cheese cave. And rather than me trying to add that to my already full schedule, we are going to try vacuum packing a lot of cheeses, and I'll let you know how that goes. It's not ideal. Most of our cheeses are already well aged, so it's just going to keep from having to tend to the outside of those rinds constantly. Garden changes are that, well, are there changes? I don't know. The garden's in full swing, and there's not much I can do about that except get out there every day or so and bring in the harvest, process it quickly, move on to the next task. And I've determined that if I get behind on that, the compost pile will be loving it, and I'm just going to be okay with that. This is all temporary. Now, the biggest change will be with this podcast. It takes a tremendous amount of time to put out each episode, and my plan is to just replay some of the older episodes. Now, if you're new, this will be a benefit for you, and if you're a long-time listener, I hope you will bear with me as we get through this difficult time. Oh, the doctor let me know to expect drastic changes in lifestyle for 4 to 6 months, so we can do this. Now, for some homestead updates, I'm going to start with the creamery because the creamery is completely on hold. That was all Scott's doing there, and so this will be my last mention of that for several months because nothing is going to happen there until he gets through this and back on his feet. Now, the cows are hanging in there. I'm a little worried about getting hay to them in the winter. I'll be looking for help from a neighbor or two in that regard. Moving them from one pasture or paddock to another is something I can easily handle. But when the grass runs out, sometime in the middle of winter, they will need hay brought to them. And that means someone who knows what they're doing with a tractor, and that's definitely not me. And at this point, it's a little bit too much, I think, for me to actually try to learn how to do that. So fortunately, the task of bringing the hay, it's usually done once or twice a week. It takes about an hour or so. We have such a small herd. So I don't know, it shouldn't be too much of a burden for those helping us through this time. Now the sheep are hanging out with Mac, the sheepdog. I think I talked about him in the last podcast. And they seem to be getting along very well. We may add a few sheep back to the flock over the next few weeks before we get deeply into the treatment, but I'm not sure about that. Again, moving the sheep from place to place, that's not hard. So I can handle that. Having 6 or 8 instead of 4 is not a big deal. But we'll see how that plays out. If it seems stressful to try and accomplish it, I'll let that go as well. There's always next year. There is always next year. Now the donkeys, because we've got the livestock guardian dog now, the donkeys are going on to another home, and we haven't accomplished that yet. But this is a high priority in the next few weeks. The donkeys require regular hoof care, and that I simply will not be able to provide. It will be better for all of us if they get resettled soon. So Daisy, Coco, Johnny, and Sweet Pea are all moving on to other homes very soon. As far as the garden and the orchard, let's see what we got going on there. Well, the green beans are done. And there's a few out there. I could do another picking, and I may or may not, depending on how I feel, how much time I have. But otherwise, I'm going to be cutting those plants down and putting them on, probably tying them up in a plastic bag, so that the Mexican bean beetles that are in there they'll die and they can't reproduce. So that's what I'll be doing there. I saw some out there, and we are completely organic. The only thing on our beans is sunshine and water. So when those Mexican bean beetles come out, they really ravage the plants if you're not out there just squishing them like day in and day out. So I'll just cut the plants off right at the surface, or maybe even pull them up, put them into some plastic bags and tie them up, and that will keep those bugs from proliferating. I've got a few more, a couple more batches of canning to do with the green beans, and I'll be done with them. The crowder peas are just coming on today. I packed up quite a few 1-pound bags for the farmer's market tomorrow, and there are more out there to pick, so maybe this afternoon, maybe tomorrow afternoon. Crowder peas are an overall joy for me. I love picking them, shelling them, and most of all, eating them. So I love the crowder peas, and I'll be canning some of those as well. The tomatoes are also just starting to ripen. They are ripening quite late, actually, this year. Usually mid-July or so we would have tomatoes, and here we are nearly to mid-August, and I'm just starting to get some. I'm actually happy that there is a lot of plant material and not so many fruits, and that happens sometimes. If you have too much nitrogen, you get a lot of plant and not so many fruits. I really have no idea what I'm going to do with all these tomatoes. They're slicing tomatoes, so making sauce, I could, but we'll see. Perhaps I'll make the effort to get them to the farmer's market and move them that way. But again, if any of these tasks falls behind or becomes overwhelming, the compost pile is always open to new food additions, and that will benefit all of us. The last of the fruit is picked. I have several gallon bags of blackberries in the freezer. I can make jelly out of that at my leisure, even next year, if it gets pushed back that far. Scott harvested the elderberries this year. Now, the bushes have been producing for a few years now, but this is the first time we've taken the time to harvest the berries. Elderberries are really, really small. They're about the size of a coriander seed. They form small little tree-like bunches all over the bush. And Scott snipped off each little tree and filled up a 5-gallon bucket. And then he gently stripped the berries off of the twigs. And I believe I have maybe 1.5 gallons of those berries, and I'll be processing those in the next few days. I'm not going to freeze those. I'm going to go ahead and process those. They will be made into elderberry syrup. It's good for sore throats and general immune system support. So lots of good vitamin C. Well, that's about all for today. I know it's short. Again, I will be rerunning some older podcasts beginning soon. If I feel up to it, I may create a new one here and there. Please bear with me, and please pray for Scott over the next few months. Oh, I almost forgot. Many of you have asked how they can support us. Number 1 is please pray for us. Number 2, if you live near, I may need your help from time to time to get Scott to and from his appointments. And with the hay, as I mentioned above. So these are my most pressing concerns. And this will be a huge financial hit for us between the medical bills and the loss of income from products we would normally be aggressively producing. But so if you feel moved to help us out financially, we would appreciate it so much. There is a very large donate button on our farm website. You'll find it on the podcast page. I had originally set this up for donations to support the podcast just in general, and I've not promoted it really. Instead, I've just been footing the bill for the podcast from our profits. But at this time, I'll open it up for all of you. Not only will you be supporting the cost of the podcast, but at this time, you'll also be supporting our homestead in general. You can make a one-time donation there or set up a monthly donation. You can also send us money via PayPal. Our PayPal email is melanie@peacefulheartfarm.com. That's melanie@peacefulheartfarm.com. So if you go to your PayPal, you can just email us, or you can send to our account through that email. Anyway, please know that listening and sharing the podcast is also supporting us. It is absolutely one of the best ways to support us. So share it on all your social media and with friends and family. That helps the most to grow the podcast. Thank you so much for stopping by the homestead. And until next time, may God fill your life with grace and peace.